I'm here for a very exciting coffee talk with dear friend Anand Thaker. And cheers, just thank you for being here.
Cheers,
you have been a positive and inspirational force in my life as a budding entrepreneur in the tech space in Atlanta. You know, you knew me back in the day, you know, our first meeting at Starbucks when I was just getting my feet wet.
Oh yeah.
And so it's really cool to have you here and talk about you. I'm gonna read from your Twitter profile because if that's what you have there, then that's probably legit. So you are advancing go-to-market decisions for growth leaders. You're the CEO at Intellify, hashtag Feel the Data, hashtag MarTech Advisor, builder, investor, analyst. It's amazing. It's amazing. But let's dumb it down, and let's say I am a 12-year-old and I say, Anand, what do you do? Tell me what you do. Tell us, what is it that you do?
No, it's a fair question. You know, it's always just like a challenge, but I think it boils down to really helping other people make better decisions. It really is. It has taken me about 20 years of my career to get to a point where I've realized I really enjoy that. It's very gratifying to elevate other people, support them, help them navigate the complexities of the decisions that they're trying to make, or the life choices they're trying to figure out, or the options they have. And that's, with a financial background and a data-driven background, and of course, even more recently having a lot of the marketing background in the mix, it's been very interesting to kind of mold all of that together in some form or fashion to help people make better life choices, I guess. So.
But to be clear, you're not a self-help guru.
Correct. That's right.
It's business related, right?
Yep. Specifically, like just go to market. Like, where are you going? Where are you taking your business? Maybe where are you taking your career?
Yes.
Where are you, putting your investments in? That's exactly where we're talking about, is how to make better choices in that capacity.
Better business choices, specifically related to MarTech, AI, big data. What else?
Financial investments. So we've had people who've used me for figuring out how to basically make those investments, how to navigate some of those landscapes of marketing technology, the crazy thing that it is out there. Also individuals. I mean, I'm a big fan of mentoring, advising, whether it's companies, whether it's teams, whether it's people. Just enjoy doing a lot of that and seeing how people can harness the information they have, or break through the ceiling or glass ceilings they may have that they encounter, and then kind of accelerate on their own, which is really very powerful and very inspiring to see.
You are very humble, and I'm just going to talk you up a little bit because Anand is somebody who's under the radar, but extremely powerful and instrumental in helping businesses and companies do better. You are instrumental in the ATV mentoring and advisor community. Can you talk about what that relationship is like?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it actually started that community had actually really helped me it was instrumental in being a part of that community to better understand and navigate the startup community, or just generally speaking, what is a startup like? What is, going at a fast pace look like? What is a typical entrepreneur supposed to be? And, I remember meeting David Cummings one day, and he said, I remember flipping my LinkedIn profile, because at the time I was working at Silverpop. And after I decided to leave because I wanted to start my own consulting firm, we spent some time together, and I remember he wrote like 5 names on a piece of paper as we were talking, and I literally still keep in touch with 4 of them, and 3 of them actually turned out to be tremendous opportunities as a result of it.
Wow.
So I figured once I exited my company, or I was acquired, or we were acquired, and we were doing sales and marketing alignment with Neo Marketing at the time, and I figured, what was the best way to return a favor in some capacity or another? It could be like write a check. But being that I actually had some help, and I've had help, and that's always helped me be successful, how can I return the favor? And I've seen this gap where you see entrepreneurs who are just driving and going and hustling and hustling aimlessly. Then there's the idea of failing fast. But what was missing was, why not fail fast on the right things, right? Why not fail fast on things that matter to an entrepreneur, or going through a customer discovery process and whatnot. So, and I noticed that there was this sort of lost art in mentoring and advising that was happening as well. And as I visited a number of startup communities around the country, and I got one out in Israel. One of the nice things that I saw was there was a really robust series of entrepreneurs in the space that were second, third generation, and so they were actually helping out a great deal. And there's a lot of great programs, but I wanted to bring that essence back to the community, which actually has been very supportive to me. So right at that same time, one of the members, Erin Rosentowski, she was one of the members of ATV, if you know Erin. Yes, exactly. We sat down and I was talking to her about, oh my gosh, what is this about mentoring and advising? Why can't we get this right? And she had taken it back over, and we sat down, we brainstormed, and we started to say, all right, let's see what this is going to look like if we did it deliberately. And that's the thing, like most mentoring and advising programs just simply are, just put a bunch of really famous people on a website and then just hope something will happen, but you really do have to be more deliberate about it.
Yes.
And part of the goal that I love about ATV is whatever we do there, we'd love to share with the rest of the ecosystem, because we're hoping that we also would receive some knowledge and information. So over the last 4 years, we've actually carved out sort of reignited the mentor and advisor program there. Started to create some definitions on what that is. I actually put some money in to help Erin at the time find someone to assist her while she was managing and running strategically the program, and we were shaping it over time. And I think we've gotten to a very good place now. A lot of people who look up Atlanta Startup Mentors, like we come up for a lot of other people, and we get a lot of requests, and we're going to be having a meeting soon to talk about what's the next level that we're going to achieve. But the idea was to really pay it back, because a bunch of people had paid it forward. I think it's always good to appreciate and find a way to give back more than just financially, but being hands-on, because that's really valuable. That's what people really want from successful individuals out there.
And so we've talked about your contributions to the Atlanta Tech Village. Thank you for that, by the way. Not only have I benefited from the community there, but I'm now part of the mentorship advisory team, and it's so rewarding to be able to pour back into Atlanta. Let's talk about your professional pursuits. In that, I've mentioned that you're kind of a silent weapon. So who needs to know about you that doesn't know about you?
Oh, that's fair. We're in an interesting place, actually, because part of me has been really working in the marketing technology arena, and now it's been much more to international level. So that's just anybody who's interested in that kind of wisdom about what's going on in the space, how they navigate that space. I'm also part of Techstars, although unfortunately I won't be able to mentor this year because of some uncertainties about family life, professional life, right? So if I want to commit, I want to commit 100%. But there's been a lot of interesting notions about the MarTech space that it's only about the technology. But the reality is that if the technology only magnifies the people and the processes and data behind them. So if they're not really figuring a lot of that out first, then the technology really, even AI, will only magnify that. So if you're doing things very poorly, guess what? It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
We got nothing for you.
You're just going to... We'll be PG about it, but it can be really bad. But if you have a great culture, you have great people, you're really putting things together well, and it is very customer centric. I know it's a cliche phrase to use, but reality is that it's very powerful if you think about why you're doing what you're doing, and then be able to relay how your business operates that way, even if it takes a little more time to put together the right formula, the right mix. That's a great way of doing it. So a lot of people who could benefit from that, from me, is either, hey, what's going on in the space? How does Atlanta play a part of that? If they are working on a new company that's revolved around marketing technology. And marketing, it's kind of gone beyond the department now. It's almost customer engagement across the board: sales, marketing, customer success. All of those touch points are very important, but marketing kind of seems to be the bucket that's responsible for the experiences across the board.
Big umbrella.
Regardless of whoever is specifically in charge of their bucket of that customer touch point. So how do you navigate that? And that's what a lot of people will come to me about. It starts off as the technology conversation, but that's just an avenue into that's sort of a lens into the company about how they're doing things. So if they're really trying to figure this out, it's a great way to engage me. But Quite frankly, I'm pretty particular about, are you really ready to change or not? And hopefully, if there's an opportunity there, certainly I'd be happy to. And fortunately, we're in a place where we don't necessarily have to charge those really big consulting rates, or we're not expecting. I just like to solve really good problems, and again, back to elevating other people, helping them accelerate. I mean, that's really the essence of what we're really trying to do here, and what I want to be able to help. The company that we're working on now, I mean, Intellify, our mission here, which is, what you read in our Twitter profile, my Twitter profile is, trying to build this sort of strategic platform that helps people make, it's sort of a decision support platform to help people make these decisions from this multitude of choices and options that they have. And you can't do this on an annual basis. So how do you narrow that down? And so we're really in great shape. We actually have a backlog of clients. So I mean, it's nice because we're trying to learn from those experiences from our clients, so it's a mutually beneficial research angle that we're going through.
Absolutely.
So we are. So we'll bring people on board who have interesting problems to solve and are absolutely prepared for it, and then we'll find a way to work with them, even if it's very seldomly, all the way to just going all in with the team or bringing in implementation and other partners to the fold.
So the proof is in the pudding, and I know that you are a proven leader and success in this market. But for those who don't know, without naming names or companies, can you give us a few quick but concrete examples of how you've helped companies?
Yeah, certainly. Last year was a kind of a big year. Me particularly, we were engaging with some firms who were looking to invest, and they were trying to make some decisions about it. And interestingly enough, while it was, financial due diligence, figure out who you should go after, it really came down to understanding the motivations behind the person the company investing, or the firm investing, or the VC firm investing, and then the company who was looking for the investment. And there was a lot of intriguing discussions and dialogues about it, but sometimes when you have the third party in the mix who kind of empathizes with both sides, things just pour out. It's almost like therapy. It's almost like some means of, hey, look, these people don't understand that we're trying to do this, or that individual really doesn't get what's going on about how we need to expect a return on that investment. And so navigating that actually is much more about the people than some of the financials, or even trying to select some of it. So we actually ended up helping companies receive or acquire like a little over $225 million in investment, securing investment in the whole thing. And so that was, that's been incredibly powerful to be a part of that process as I'm learning, but at the same time having a different perspective on what's really going on out there versus what you're doing. What people are deciding that's on paper has been, a very advantageous thing. Another example would be, we're working with a company right now in the insurance space, and they've been acquiring companies on a regular basis. And part of their technologies that they're amassing from all these different companies are just clouding their ability to serve their customers as a result of it. So as a matter of fact, I remember actually receiving some of these mailers from this company, or basically representatives from this company, and there were 7 exact same mailers from 7 different people to the same one address. So if you can imagine like how frustrated someone could be to have received that, right? And then who do you choose and why that's the case? The challenge was because they just had so many different departments, different agents, different territories. There wasn't really a syncing on that front, and being able to recognize that, hey, let's stop and think about, where do we want this company to go? Where do we want them? What types of personas do they want to go after? And what types of people are they interested in offering them in terms of services or products? How do we kind of fill that gap?
And at the core is seamless communication.
Absolutely.
And authenticity and transparency, so that those missteps don't happen in the future. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and we can cut this if it's no bueno. But I'm intrigued, just as the CPO of Bark, which is technology that keeps children safer online. We use AI. marketing is huge for us. So I'm just going to throw some things out, and you just give me some high-level thoughts. Obviously, we'd charge you for your time for some deep-level things, but like, let's just pretend this is a consult. So, Bark, we keep children safer online. We monitor over 25 social media platforms, texting, email, iOS, Android, browsers, etc. We're looking for signs of cyberbullying, sexting, thoughts of suicide and depression, potential drug use, online predators, violent expressions. We have a product for parents that is paid. We have a product for schools, which is free. Our numbers are amazing. We get tens of thousands of students signing up daily. So Bark for Schools is going very well. Obviously, it's free. But we can always acquire more parents from our paid product. We're using Facebook. Facebook ads is amazing for us.
Right.
Also, just word of mouth, viral word of mouth, and press, both organic and paid, is also very, very good for us. So yeah, we're playing in that space. You have both this introduction to Bark from me, but also just knowing about it for the past 3 years. If we were to engage with you and your company, what are you seeing that we're not seeing? What is out there? And again, without giving up too much, because I want to pay you for your time when it's appropriate, but just, yeah, I'm a business. This is my problem. Getting more parents faster. What are you seeing?
Well, I think one of the first things has been, lately there's been a lot of data conversations about use of data, use of that. So it's going to be interesting. I would actually say, let's wait a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, see what shakes out with a lot of this. Because before you need to get started, you're going to need to know how much of this impact is going to come back towards
with GDPR.
GDPR, but also, we're still having privacy discussions even within the United States, because GDPR specifically relates to the EU,
right?
Or if you're working with the EU, and I can't recall if Bark has made it across the pond yet.
We have challenges there. The demand is there.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
The mission that you're on is incredibly powerful and very useful. So that would be the first thing, is let's see how all that shakes out, to be very frank. Afterwards, the idea of growth, I like, it's ironic and it's paradoxical to the startup culture, but building trust and building strong relationships with, especially in the arena that you're working on, takes time.
It does.
Certainly it's okay that you don't rush it, right? The best thing you can do is build the best product that you can build. Make parents feel like they are part of some community, that they want to help each other in some manner of speaking. I've seen the most successful startups and the most successful companies that have the best shareholder value who build strong communities.
Awesome.
Even if the IP isn't necessarily the strongest or most defensible, that doesn't matter. What really matters is building community. So that's kind of the first route we take, and if we want to go down the Warren Buffett route, I know he's been talking, he had his, I'm a big fan of his, and I totally respect that he should be investing in what I certainly follow that same philosophy, but he used to have this term called book value that was one of his favorite metrics, and the metric talks literally about assets of a company and how that is the measure of value of how he decides, or he and Berkshire Hathaway value a lot of that. And I'm going to be writing about this a little bit later, but the new book value is actually community engagement. And in the digital world, the assets aren't really much. So book value in that instance is very small or negligible, and that's why why Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett really don't understand what's going on, or haven't been able to figure out what that formula is. But I have a suspicion that building strong communities that have great advocates, have companies who are genuine about their mission, and helping companies make better, have better opportunities, or help people with whatever their challenges are on a day-to-day basis. That's where, that's why Facebook grew. Why I follow HubSpot. They've done a tremendous job of helping themselves. Atlassian is another big company that, if you're a developer, if you don't use any of their tools, then you're not a real developer. They've gotten to that particular point, right? Microsoft has been a big turnaround, right? Ever since the new CEO Satya Nadella has come on board, it's been a shift from ego to empathy now, and it's a trend that is huge, absolutely
huge.
And so that's it's the world's largest pivot, right? There's no I mean, I admire the CEO for it, but I mean, I think, you know, the rest of the company has a lot of kudos they should deserve to go through this transition now of, hey, we used to try to get every, you know, we wanted to get a desktop on everybody's, you know, a computer on everyone's desktop. Now we actually care about connectivity. We want to play friendly. We don't want to own the world. We actually want to play in the world. And I think it's a very powerful message that building strong communities is extremely powerful. That's why I think back to what you're doing with, you know, with Bark. I think it's great that you're offering this free version to schools, because not only does it help with awareness, but it also shares that you really do care.
Oh,
it's not
absolutely.
Just trying to sell to every possible way.
No, if you as a company, whether you're in tech or not, have a solution that is easy, rapidly scalable, and can help save lives, yeah, you know, especially after Parkland, you know, when we realized, man, everybody needs this now. Right. Just okay, then let's give it away, and we've caught now 12 school shooting and bomb threats before they happened.
That's incredible. Which
is, you know, I'm not going to cry today, but yeah. So thank you for giving me some free advice. I wholeheartedly agree with you in terms of community. I love your insight into case studies from companies like Microsoft, et cetera. This speaks to your wealth of knowledge and ability to dig deep into what's happening. And so if people want to follow you, learn more, read the words that you're writing, I know not everybody can have coffee with you, but you are so kind, you would probably do that. Where should they go to hang on your every word? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it, you know?
Yeah, it's since the kids cobbler have no shoes situation, right? I'm actually working on putting all that together. But right now, you can go to anandthaker.com. That's one place. Certainly follow me on Twitter, and then LinkedIn will be great, as I'll start to be making a lot of posts as well. And to give you some extra actual advice as opposed to telling you what's going on, one of the things I usually ask companies to do is step into the shoes of like your customers and then actually use it. But I would say for you all, I imagine that's not a problem for you or the founders, right? But I would say, why are the parents who are not signing up, what are their reasons for not signing up?
Totally.
You know, and it can't be because of the money, right? Because your child's safety is just so paramount and it's so challenging. And even if the software that's out there that I know of, say I've got a 3.5-year-old now, so I'm starting to worry about it, right? He's playing with all the, you know, tablets and computers and everything. You know, there's software out there, but it's very, you know, independent, siloed. It doesn't really, you know, it's just a piece of software. It's not part of a, you know, more of a larger ecosystem. So. And that costs almost as much, if not more, than Bark. So why aren't they signing up? What is it about Bark that doesn't, you know, that hasn't helped them? And I think that'll be very illuminating for the actual scalable part, because you'll find different segments and messaging that you can tap into that are more than just the core value prop that's out there.
Wow. You know what's awesome about you? Full disclosure, people watching, I've been up since 3 a.m. You know, sick child, that's what happens. And I've had way too much coffee. And until this conversation, I still didn't quite feel truly alive. Just talking to Anand is like, I'm like, yes, the world is my oyster, and we're going and we're doing, and let's do this. You know, I'll totally crash in like an hour, right? But like, that's what you do for people and companies. So you breathe new life, you shed light. It's really, really cool. You not only are in the startup space and MarTech space, but you also have civic relationships. Can you briefly touch on your work with Johns Creek?
Sure.
Okay.
So just a quick history of why, everybody always asks me, like, why are you involved? Like, are you going to run for office one day? What's going on? Like, why would you even spend time on this? And I appreciate that. And those are some kind words, by the way. It actually goes back to like when I was in high school, and really what it is I was recruited to do a lot of work to help with the energy infrastructure, like defending the energy infrastructure. I submitted like something to like an algorithm to contest, and all of a sudden I'm in DC and like
Woo!
sort of interviewing some people.
Wow.
And that was a different chapter of my life. I think we're almost at that 20-year point where I can start talking more about it. But I fully recognized like and appreciated what a lot of people do in our country. And I know it gets a lot of flack, but quite frankly, there's so many good people who do really great things that are unheard of.
Yeah.
And how can we be a part of that, right? I think the whole point of being in a democracy is that we all engage in it, and it's got to be more than just the ballot box. And right around that same time, I was also in Boy Scouts. So again, it's there's a healthy component of building it yourself or being part of, or respecting your environment that I really appreciate, respecting other people. And later on, it became something where I was very involved at the federal level in a variety of capacities. I ended up in the energy space and doing some work there. And then I ended up then it took a break for a while. And what ended up happening, I love communities, right? So we talk about that all the time. And I was like, hey, you know what? Moved into this neighborhood in Snellville, Georgia, and said, hey, I'll help with some pool furniture. The HOA sent out a note, hey, we got some new pool furniture, we need some people to help fix that. I'm like, I could do that. I love being handy. We always talk about this.
Yeah.
Somehow we got to cover this, but we love working on stuff. And then from starting to help put pool furniture together all the way to, and within 6 months, I was actually the president of the HOA. So, and I was sadly dumb enough to do this 3 times, right? And it's just, I can't help myself. I'm like, I want to help our community, and yes, it's a thankless job. And then of course the last time I was actually a part of a community group was in Brookhaven. Mm-hmm. And I know you're a part of that community as well.
It's my home.
I was right part of, and they were in the midst of trying to become a city when I moved there, which was interesting to see. And it was very fascinating for me to see in a civic capacity, how is a city formed? Why is it being formed? And certainly I knew some of the political wranglings about what was going on behind the scenes, but also just the formation of an identity, it was very powerful. So when we moved to Johns Creek, then and there, my wife and I, we always just try to find a way to invest time back in the community, whether it's in the political process or whether it's in the community. I'm great with planting trees and building houses, but I figured let me see if I could do something a little more along the lines of things that I've done in my experience or talent that I have. Something more strategic. So I got involved in the economic development side. I love the complicated, hairy problems to solve.
Yes.
And it's fantastic. And it's it's almost like community building meets SimCity meets the political process, and all of that was very intriguing to me. And I feel like in some ways marketing and politics seem to be crossing over anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So
yes.
It's all
and you love a good
powerful.
challenge.
And it's a good challenge. And navigating these complexities is great. So what ended up happening was we were going, when I first moved there was this talk of being a tech hub. Every city wanted to have its own tech hub, mm-hmm. right? But the problem and the challenge is that general tech hubs require a great deal of density. And Atlanta even itself is one of the least dense cities in the world. So imagine in the suburbs trying to pull something like that off is very challenging. And since the theme of today is about communities and relationships,
yes.
the first part is you have to build a community from the get-go. Like Jen Benet, who runs ATDC, we and I always have these long conversations about, we need to build a community. It's easy to start with a few people and you build out before you start building incubators, before you start building buildings. So recognizing Johns Creek has been, it's an affluent community, it has a great deal of education, educational options there, one of the safest cities in the United States, a great deal of accolades. It's a wonderful place, and as you get to know them, and I know we have our wonkiness in our, in terms of things, but once you get to know the people there, it's incredibly powerful that there's so many self-made individuals there. But what's triggered a lot of this was, why are we doing what we're doing moving forward as a city? The city's been around for 10 years. It's gone through its startup period. It's trying to figure out the next 20 years of its lifespan. What do we want to become? And so the theory was, most places want to be a tech hub because they want to capture as much as they can. But my theory now is in the burbs, maybe instead of trying to go for something really broad and hoping to collect as many people as possible, that's undifferentiated perhaps with a lot of other communities nearby. Let's be specific based on some strengths and assets that we actually have and what the community might care about. So I spent a long time like figuring this out, and we came around this idea of healthcare. We have Emory-Johns Creek up there. That's the only university-affiliated hospital in the burbs right now. And then we have Alcon. It does contact lenses. There's a startup called Javion, which actually I didn't even know about until a West Coast VC that writes $100 million checks was telling me about the company that was in our backyard. And there's a growing number of people who are going to their second career into the startup community, and also the younger generation of high schoolers are already smarter than I am and are already building things or doing things. It's incredible, right? So there's an opportunity there, and so we kind of hammered on this idea, of healthcare, pushing that. And of course, I got a lot of pushback, like healthcare. We don't need more doctors' offices, but there was a missed opportunity of understanding. And this came around, everybody came around that healthcare innovation, health and wellness is really on the other side of technology. We are all stressed because of technology. We're all challenged from our health and wellness. It's going to help us some way, but technology, generally speaking, is very pervasive. So what is it about the technology can we actually start to harness? And so I thought about what is the community. There was a lot of pushback in the community as well about just being a general tech hub. Is it going to bring a bunch of density to our very lovely city? Yeah. Which is understandable, and even what was being proposed wasn't really dense. But they needed to get out of their mind, the picture out of their minds that it's just density and random technology to something that's very applicable to people who are on an average 40 years old, or there's a generation of people who are about to be empty nesters and kids who are about to go to college. What do they have in common? And I think that's very conducive. What we do in Johns Creek, or what we celebrate in Johns Creek, is about health and wellness. So what if we could be a sort of a beacon for that, an area that can collaborate with the rest of the region on that front. And so I started to push and drive on this idea of I Heart JC was just the project name, but JC for Johns Creek. Yeah, exactly. And clearly I borrowed from a lot of other inspirations on that name, and actually it was supposed to be a lifestyle magazine, but I started talking to council members, the mayor, then there was different organizations. I ended up talking to about 30 some odd, groups and organizations that was within Johns Creek alone, to say, if we all rallied on this one point, we don't have to put all of our eggs in that basket, but if we rallied on this point that actually really does connect the community with the business arena and the opportunity for innovation, then that's a pillar of strength that we can actually have, that we can build over time. And that's a 20, 25 year kind of view of what needed to go on. So, as of in February, the entire council and mayor unanimously and very enthusiastically, passed a resolution on what they called, and they even adopted the name, which I was even more happy about. I didn't care about the name, I just cared about the theme, but they adopted the name I Heart Johns Creek, and that's the name of the resolution that came out. And so I'm really proud of the fact that everyone came together, they understood it from their varying different perspectives, regardless of what sides you were on. I'm very proud of the fact that happened, but I also told them, like, look, I don't need to be the face of this. I just wanted to be a civic scout. Like, someone mentioned that term, and I love that term, but I'm just happy to be a part of the process and help. And I hope that it inspires more people that, as busy as I am and as much as that goes on, I want to, there's always time you should send back to the community. And it's with the politics that's out there now, I think we need more people to be involved, and they don't have to know everything about planning and zoning. You can leave that up to the wonks. They love it. They absolutely care about it. But what I tell people is pick one thing, develop a relationship with one representative, and spend 1 minute a day. Like, just find a minute a day. And what it basically amounts to about 6 hours a year. That's not a lot, but it's very powerful. Even if you could get a few hundred people in a city, it can become a game-changing effect. If one person, 20 people can do it, you can imagine if we had hundreds of people working on various parts of their local area or region.
So I love so much about this community, innovation, inspiration, collaboration, whether it's with a city or a company or individuals. Anand, thank you so much for all that you're doing. It's really, really cool. Again, just to be able to sit down and have this time with you and then capture it, really cool.
Absolutely.
We will have links to where people can reach you and follow you in this description below. But as we close, I always like to ask, is there anything that we as a community can do for you? We're talking about servant leadership. So how can we serve you? What can we do for you?
Oh, that's a fair question. Wow. It's, all the work that I do, I hope that other people recognize the need to just invest that time, whether it's in the startup community, right? Or, understand yourself and what you can bring to the table that you want to bring, that you just enjoy, right? Mm-hmm. And how can you share that with everybody? And I think that what's important is carving out that time and giving back, having that gratitude, whether it's political, whether it's the startup world, whether it's in business, whether it's your family, or more, beyond your family and your friends. Really just taking the time to do that, I think is, hopefully, in our busy lives, we all tend to, be in our bubble and just kind of break out of that bubble once in a while. It's actually extremely rewarding. I get as much, if not more, out of these engagements and relationships than I probably put in, collectively speaking, and I think I'd love to see more people, enjoy what I'm enjoying as a result of being a part of that.
Awesome. Anand Thaker, thank you so much for being here. Thank you again for all that you do, and I'm excited to watch both from near and afar.
Thanks. It's been great getting together with you again.